It's Scotty-O!
And Melanie.
And today's Tantra Talk is on sexual freedom.
Alright, before you get too far, I'm going to share this with everybody on my page.
Okay.
If I can.
Chris is doing that. So, today we are driving to New Orleans and we are getting ready to go celebrate there at Naughty New Orleans. And we basically are still driving there. We're hoping to be there by now. We'll give you a bonus video when we arrive, but this probably gives us a chance to have less distractions to talk to you about sexual freedom. So tell us about sexual freedom, honey. What does that mean to you?
All right. So sexual freedom means to me being in your true choice about what you want and being truly in your power and your confidence, empowerment of actually doing what you want and enjoying yourself and not being held back by society and what society says you think or should do, or the shame or the guilt or the judgment they pour on top of you, and just feeling liberated to express your desires and to follow through with your desires and to communicate with your partner and to feel free in choosing who your partner is or partners are, and to not feel limited or repressed by other people's standards of what they think you should do or shouldn't do.
So here's the thing, folks. Sexual freedom is a state of mind. It's basically something that exists only in here. So if you want access to freedom, if you want access to joy or total orgasms for 12 hours, or if you want, I'm trying to get this straight, or if you want to have divinity, power of divine within you, it's all in here. So this is what you want to do. You want to look for mind traps or things that are basically get in our way of being sexually free. So here are some common traps to avoid in your mind. One, Melanie mentioned, guilt and shame. Big ones that really stop us from having what we want. Another one is being right. If you're being right, you're making someone else wrong, and that means that you aren't being connected and loving with that person. There's lack of connection. Another one is looking good. If you want to look good, if you're worried so much about what other people think about you, then you're actually not being self-expressed and being in tune with who you want to be. And this is a funny one too, because I found that the less I care about what others think and the more I'm just myself and do what I feel like doing, then the more
Stop bothering it.
I'm trying to tilt this so I can see it. The more that I actually look good when I'm not attempting to, if that makes sense. It's like if you're true, authentic, and to yourself, and you just show up the way that you want to be, people appreciate that. They're attracted to that. Other things that get in the way are being appropriate, or wanting to be in control, or if you want to be safe. Those are illusions, by the way, because safety and control are just illusions anyway. But if you're attempting to be in control, or you're attempting to play it safe, that's not giving you the freedom, I think, that is available to you. Being righteous, we already mentioned. Oh, and then being attached to results. That's a big one, because being attached, here we can get you in there too, is the Buddhists say that's the what do you call it? The source of all suffering is when you're attached to the result. So, and then what resists persists. So if you really don't want something to happen and you're focused on that and you're keep your mind on it, you're just actually recreating it. You're putting your energy into it. And where your attention goes, energy flows, results follow. So, and criticisms. If you're critical or you're judging, or even if you're just comparing yourself with other people, that again is a way of taking you out of the experience. Another one is you want to be present. When you're worried about the past, or you're worried about the future, or comparing the past, if you're thinking about anything other than now, other than the present moment, that is taking you out of the experience, and that also will totally get in your way of being free. So freedom happens now. So some of the practices that you can do is, focus on love, right? It's not about being right. It's not about, you can choose to be loving or right. You can rarely do both, and luckily sometimes you're with a partner who agrees with you most of the time, and that works out well. But if if you're coming up against that thing, because we love to be right, like we will kill people, we will go to war, we will commit suicide just to be righteous, and there's really no cheese down that tube. There's no value in being right, so so choose love instead. So whenever you're faced with a choice, choose love. Also, self-love is really important. And this is another one too, where in our culture, if you love yourself, you could be considered a narcissist or egotistical or whatever. And we have this whole modest thing where you aren't supposed to love yourself. There's something, some energy around it. And I'm here to tell you, it is perfectly okay to love yourself completely, 100%. You should love yourself more than anybody. You should embrace it and fully be it, because only through self-love is the key that gives you everything else that you want. Because if you don't love and accept yourself, you're going to subconsciously sabotage from getting the things that you want, whether it's a relationship, whether it's money based on your self-worth, whether it's just the joy and freedom that you want. But freedom is rooted in self-love.
Yeah. And I totally testify that, because I love myself more than anybody else that I know loves themselves, and that has shown up positively in my life. Because I love myself and I value myself, others love me and value me too. And it's like, no one's gonna love you if you don't love yourself. And honestly, that might not be entirely true, but honestly, you're not going to feel love except through the love that you have for yourself.
Yeah, you can only love others as much as you love yourself.
Yeah.
There's a limit.
And you can only feel love for yourself as much as you love yourself. That's the key. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is they're always looking for more love from someone. They don't feel love from someone. They don't feel in love with someone. And it's all because it goes back to they don't truly love, honor, and value themselves.
If you're looking for love or validation or whatever from someone else besides yourself, then you are then you are not being totally free, and you're not being free. Then you're focused on what other people want versus what you want. And freedom is about self-expression. Freedom is about you being who you are. Freedom is about, at least in our perspective, of being, everything you want. So what else do you want to say about that?
All right. So one of the other things about sexual freedom, it's about giving yourself permission to explore things, even things that might not be socially acceptable that you want to explore. And so many people, we're going to a sexual freedom convention right now as we speak, on the road to New Orleans. We hope to be there by now, but it's still about 30 minutes out. Lovely scene of swamp as we get there. But it's about giving yourself permission to explore and be curious, and giving yourself permission to like things that you've explored, even if you didn't think that you would. So, there's a lot of people out there that like all kinds of edgy things, and that's okay. You can like whatever you like. You can like kinky things. You can like scary things. You can like pain or bondage. You can like 12-hour lovemaking sessions. You can like sacred worshiping sessions of each other, the more tantric aspect. You can like all kinds of things, especially as long as it is still honoring and consensual of your partner. That's the key there. Yeah. Maintaining honor, respect, and consent with a partner, and then doing anything that you two agree with. And what else would you like to say?
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about consent. The way that you know that you have consent with someone is through communication. And again, anything, I mean, Tantra is very inclusive. Like some people say, oh, BDSM, that's bondage, discipline, sadomasochism, is doesn't work with tantric energy. But like we were just reading Urban Tantra, which I think is a great book, by the way. And it's like, yes, the Tantra is about everything. It's about experiencing all that life has to offer, and including the extremes. And then you choose and pick what you want. But not everything is for everybody, so you don't have to do everything, but do anything that calls for you, and don't let anyone else tell you that it's wrong. Okay, so going back to consent, is that here's some just general guidelines. Another thing we like to do is sex in a group environment. Even if we aren't playing with other people, we're feeling the energy of other people in the space. And so some consent guidelines, if you're in a group dynamic, is one, be verbal. Like actually ask verbally what you want, and ask and tell and state what your boundaries are, like what you don't want, and then state what your requests are. And then as well is you want to you want to ask everyone in the group. So like, and you want to be specific about what you're asking. So if there's like a group of 4 people, you say, hey, would you mind if I massaged your feet? And then you ask everyone, is it okay if I massage her feet or his feet, etc. And then let's see, you're welcome to change your mind. That's a big one. Once you say yes or no, you are free to change your mind at any point in time. So if like you said yes to a massage and it's like, oh, it hurts or it's not working for you, just say thank you. You know, I'm good now. You know, and now I want something else. The other thing you can do with consent, which is useful, is make sure that it's not no means no. It's anything but a hell yes is a no, right? Because if people are kind of like, maybe, okay, you know, then make sure that they're an emphatic yes, because a lot of people don't know how to say no, right? They aren't practiced at it. You know, they aren't, you know, comfortable with it. They don't want to make you feel bad by rejecting you. And by the way, if someone rejects you, that's not a rejection against you. That's just a choice for something or someone else. And it's a yes to them. And so it's a redirection. It's not a rejection. Don't take it personally. The last thing is that I can think about at the moment is for consent is make sure it's verbal, because sometimes people are in their heads and, you know, you might go, oh, they nodded yes, but they're just like having an orgasm, their heads flailing around and so forth. It might have nothing to do with what you just said. They might even not know you're there. So those are some general consent guidelines. So the other thing that I want to mention is that when you're coming from a critical place, especially about yourself, another thing you can do is be curious. Like, look at this thought that's happening, or look at this emotion that's coming up, or just noticing what's happening. That's another valuable thing about witness consciousness or being in the present, is that you want to make sure that you're noticing what's happening in your body and what's happening around you. So be in your body. Like all the stuff we did from the last class of like being in your body, those are great practices for freedom, because if you get in your body, you're out of your head, and all the traps that we're talking about happen in your head. It's our thinking is our biggest enemy. It's the biggest problem that we have, right? So let's see, what else do you want to add, honey? Breathe, be in your body, practice acceptance. Only by accepting what is can you move forward. And if you're worried about or stuck in and resistance to what you don't like, you're just going to maintain that wall. And let's see. Oh, here's a good one too. Stretching your comfort zone. This is an important one, because a lot of people don't realize that in order to have what you don't want, in order to be someone that you aren't yet, the way to get there is stretching your comfort zone. It's to test the edge of your box. It's to do something you've never done before. And it might feel silly. It might feel uncomfortable. It might feel, I don't know, awkward, strange, weird. And the key is you know, while you're still honoring your own boundaries, I'm not asking you to do something you don't really want to do, but if you're kind of like curious, or if you just want to, a little scared to try that out, my suggestion is to go for it, because only through testing your edges, only through expanding and practicing your comfort zone are you actually going to see what's at the other side of that doorway. And it could be something really great. Usually things we're afraid of aren't nearly as scary as we thought they were. That's another thing. When you're stopped by fear is another mind trap. Action is a good, way to break through. Any action at all. Just take an action or a step towards it, and once you start the process, it's not so scary. What else can we talk about, hon? Not being right or wrong. We covered a lot of stuff here. I know I'm going through it pretty quick. What about you guys out there? Does anyone have any mind traps of their own? I mean, ask yourself, where do you get stuck? What stops you from having the freedom that you want in your life? You know, do you get stopped by fear or shame or guilt? And it's really important to notice. Only through using witness consciousness or being present, like noticing your emotions and your thoughts as they come up, are we then able to take different action. Because most of us just go on automatic and we start doing whatever we do, which has been a pattern that's protected us, that we created when we were kids or something. And it's only through noticing that pattern can we then change it and take different action to give us what we want. Let's see. Oh, here's a big one. Let's talk about sound. This is a really great way to bust open a lot of these traps that are in our head. Because if you want to be self-expressed, the way to practice that is to be outrageous, you know, talking about stretching your comfort zone. And, you know, sound is really important because most of us are taught to repress our energy when we're kids because we learn that too much energy is dangerous, or, you know, because we get in trouble for making too much noise or making sounds in the house or crying or laughing or, you know, being too out there, you know. And what Tantra, actually, part of Tantra is about reconnecting with our inner child and being able to be fully self-expressed, to like feel in the moment, right? To say what we think, to be authentic, to be totally vulnerable, to be transparent. These are all things that are going to make your life richer and more rewarding.
Yeah, that's totally an experience of total freedom, is just be self-expressed. Be your true, authentic self. And don't be afraid to fully integrate all the different aspects of who you are. So I know that sometimes when I'm getting really, really expressive, I'm in my little girl, childlike playfulness self, and then I'm into my sensuous, sexy, seductive self, and I'm in my primal, feline, growling type self, and I'm also in my like magical, fairy type spirit self. And I can be all of these things all at once and just kind of flit and flutter between the various aspects of myself. And it's a very freeing experience to know that I can be all of that, all at the same time. And to be open and curious and adventurous and exploring, and to let go of fears and to let go of judgment, to let go of criticism, and just be yourself in the present moment and whatever is coming up for you. And that's a real true secret of freedom and sexual freedom in general, is to be yourself, be love, be whatever you want to explore and express, and yeah.
So going back to expression, again, a practice of actually vocalizing is really important. So we want to make sound when, anytime, you know, just like a kid when you're playing. You know, one of the reasons I think people like group sports activities is because it's one of the few places that's socially acceptable to make sound and really cheer and yell and so forth. But the most important place that you can be self-expressed is, guess where?
In the bedroom.
In the bedroom, yeah. It's very important to make sound during lovemaking for lots of reasons. One is it gives feedback to the other person. Two, it uncorks all this like guilt and shame that most of us have around sex. It allows us to feel free. It's both psychologically freeing, it's also energetically freeing. When you make sound, it actually opens up a whole nother sex channel within your voice, within your body. And so as long as you are making noise, your orgasm will continue. So, I mean, this is a quick and easy step that you can do. It might not feel easy because you're used to not making sound. It might even feel a little awkward at the beginning, but like everything we tell you, Tantra is a practice. So the more you do it, the easier it gets. But what you want to do is when you are like, you can make noise throughout your lovemaking. Like,
the more noise you make, the more connected your partner is going to feel to you. Because whenever you're making noise and sound effects, your partner starts understanding what's working, what's not working, if something's painful, if something's pleasurable, if you want more of something or less of something. So we highly encourage you to be expressive in making your sounds. Lord knows I am. And I'm expressive in sounds all over the place all the time. I even used to do jujitsu, so like martial arts wrestling. And I sounded like a Super Mario character or something. I was making squeaks and groans and shouts and yelps and laughs, and I just sounded like a little game character making all kinds of expressive sounds. And let me tell you, everybody liked to watch me. The whole room stopped to watch me spar because I was quite entertaining. And everybody wanted to spar with me too. Mostly, I think, because of the sounds. And so that carries over into the bedroom. Make sounds and your partner will be turned on, and it helps to like sync up and to harmonize together whenever you're making sounds. And when you start making sounds together and like start letting loose the sounds of lovemaking together, it start harmonizing and syncing up the two of you and your energy so that you can be more on the same wavelength.
Yeah, because again, sound, when you start making sounds and it becomes natural, you start doing it naturally. You don't have to get into your head about it. Whenever you're getting into your head and out of your body when you're making love, that typically takes you out of the experience, right? And so when you start making sounds naturally, you're giving feedback to your partner and you're both not thinking about it. Also, there's something like Pavlov. You know, the Pavlov guys, when he rings the bell, ding, ding, ding. And then when he feeds the dog and then he salivates and so forth. And then you can just ring the bell and the dog will start salivating because he's used to that sound. We are like that too. If you start making sounds during lovemaking, then you start making sounds, it'll start triggering things. And like we can have orgasms just from hearing each other making sex sounds.
We can have spontaneous orgasms just by making the sex sounds, even without having sex. Because then your body's like, oh, I know what that sound means.
Right.
And it's a shortcut to arousal and orgasm and heightened states is making the sounds that you normally make in your higher states.
And again, the most important part, I think, is when you're actually having an orgasm. Like, once you're past the point of no return, take a big, deep breath and scream. Melanie, you know, might look different for people, but I actually scream. I'm the loudest person I know of. Yeah, I'm the loudest person I know of when I orgasm. And basically you scream, get it, milk it for all it's worth, then take a big, deep breath, and then scream again. See if you can get 2 or 3 breaths out of the orgasm at the same time. And if you have like a noisy neighbor or something, not noisy, nosy, be noisy, because you know, all you're going to do is inspire them. You know, yes, maybe some people won't like it, but I've almost never had anyone that's complained. You know, it's like when we're going camping and everything, and we're like making a lot of noise, noisy sex in our tent, and then we actually stop and take a break or something. It is like we hear like popcorn. You know, all the tents around us start making love and so forth too. Because I mean, when you think about it, love is universal. Everyone loves
contagious.
Love. Yeah, love is contagious.
And people just want permission to be expressive about it. So when we give them permission by making loud, sexy sounds in our tent, everybody else is like, well, if they're doing it, we can do it. Yeah, the more outrageous, the more wild and crazy you are, the more freedom you're creating for other people as well. Freedom is contagious as well. And even if there's kids and families around, you know what? Kids don't know what's going on. And if they do, then why not set a good example? Yeah. But like usually when we do hear like kids making comments, they're like, Mommy, there's a lion over there. And so it's just funny things. They don't know. They just hear people having fun.
We don't typically have sex around children, just to be clear. But we've been camping and so forth, you know.
We go to public campgrounds.
Everyone's like, a few times, there have been, you know, kids within hearing. If you have your own kids, that's probably more relevant, is that, you know, don't hold yourself back because they can hear you in the other room. You know, like if they're little kids, just lock the door, whatever, so they don't come in and bother you, but they're just going to think you're playing and having fun. If you are you know, if they're old enough to know better, then yeah, set a good example. If that's really difficult for you and you still don't think you want to do it, we'll show them how to do it.
Just scream into the pillow. And you can dampen the sound.
Yeah, it's better to go through the motions of screaming and then covering yourself than it is to not do it. Don't do that to your partner. And don't do it to your partner while they're driving. But in general, it's good. Okay, so that's sex sounds. And so my invitation for you tonight is try to keep it on me then. And the invitation for you tonight is to actually make sounds the next time you make love. And remember, sound equals breath equals energy. So if you want more energy, if you want more intensity, if you want to feel something, if you want to heighten your pleasure, breathe more, make more sound. Okay? All right, so moving on. Another thing we talk about is sexual stuff. So, sexual freedom, it's about choice, and everyone gets to choose. Like, I personally have had sex with most nationalities, with ages, like I think I've gone like 18 years in either direction, many religions and nationalities and so forth. It's like, it's as long as you have consent, anything's good. Kinks, BDSM, it's like, find out what inspires you, and you might be surprised what you might and might not like.
Yeah. We're then consenting adults.
Consenting adults, correct. The other thing I'll mention is homosexuality, like sexual preference and so forth. This is kind of a hot topic for some people, and if you aren't clear about this, I want to introduce to you the concept of the Kinsey scale. The reason this is important for me is I grew up being told that being gay was a mental illness and so forth, which is kind of ridiculous because it's not. It's basically preferences, and they can change over time. In fact, so Kinsey's scale it was the first really study that's scientifically done statistically to evaluate what people's preferences, what they liked, what they didn't like, and it was really well done. And there's a movie called Kinsey. I recommend it with Liam Neeson. Anyway, what he does is he creates a scale that says 0 through 6 is a scale. If you're 0, you're 100% heterosexual. If you're 6, you're 100% homosexual. If you're 3, then you have no preference. You're right there in between. And so the key is like most people are somewhere on the scale. Very few people are 0s, and very few people are 6s. In fact, I think they're, I don't know what the exact statistic is. Yes. Anyway, so in addition to that, what I want to tell you about that, 0 to 6, is that like I'm a 2. A 2 means I'm predominantly heterosexual, but I do have I guess homosexual desires sometimes. I have learned to appreciate and see the beauty in both men and women, and I think of myself more as pansexual, and that like I'm not attracted to the gender or the age or whatever. I'm attracted to the person, to the energy, to the personality, to what it is that I really find is great in that person. So that's me. And those people, again, the vast majority of people are somewhere on the spectrum. So if you have some desires or someone for the same sex or non-sex or whatever it is, that's perfectly simple. And by the way, if you have no sexual desires, you can still do Tantra there too. You can do plenty of Tantra where you're not using or tapping into your sexual energy at all. And let's see, what else can I tell about that? Yeah, whatever it is, go for it. Accept it. Love yourself. Love other people. Oh, one other thing about that too, it changes. I just read a statistic that said around 12% of all men are at a 3 between the ages of 20 and 35. It's like their experimental years because, and like for me, because with Melanie, I can actually feel her arousal for other guys now. I actually that connect to her. I've had a better appreciation for men because I can feel her attraction for guys, which has opened my eyes to other things too. So anyway, Tantra is amazing in a lot of different ways. Okay, so that's sexual freedom. Get out there and make some sound. One last thing I'll mention is responsibility. A lot of people think that when you're responsible for something, that puts a burden on you. It puts like an onus of, like you have to do something, and it restricts your freedom. I'm here to tell you that it's the opposite. When you own your responsibility, if you come from I'm responsible for something else that's happening, that actually empowers you. That actually gives you the ability to really to have power to impact that thing. If you blame someone else, if you justify, if you criticize, whatever, if you do all that, that takes your power away, and that limits your freedom. So don't think that responsibility is an issue. So the more you're responsible for, the more freedom you're going to have too. So I think that's everything I've got about responsibility. Do you have any recaps, honey, on what you want to say on how to live a life?
We're in New Orleans today, just entered to celebrate freedom and sexual freedom, and we'll be in a parade tomorrow, so maybe we'll give you a little video clip bonus tomorrow about that.
Or maybe tonight.
And enjoy your day of freedom in all kinds of ways.
Oh, and before we go, I'm going to ask you guys to do this. I really want you to actually do this. When I say go, I want everyone who's listening right now to go, freedom! And like shout at the top of your lungs. All right, here we go. Ready? Go! Freedom! This is the self-expression, being outrageous. Here's another one. I want everyone to say, I love my life.
I love my life! Woo!
And one last one is, I love myself. Notice if you have some energy around this one.
I love myself!
That's the key to sexual freedom. This is Scotty and Melanie checking out. Oh, and if you want to learn more about this stuff, come check out ecstatichearts.com. We have lots of online trainings that are actually more than us just chatting at you while we're driving to another place. And we also have weekend workshops.
Our sexual empowerment, sexual freedom workshop is coming up the first weekend of November in Austin, Texas. So join us live at that. And that one's really great because we're doing a 2-for-1 a combo special with that one, including the last weekend of October with some of our new Hawaiian Tantra teachers, John and Sasha Lesson, doing a Celebrate Your Sexuality course.
Sacred sexuality.
So celebrate sexuality and enjoy sexual empowerment and freedom, and join us for the last weekend in October and the first weekend in November. Yeah.
So again, look at our website. Again, if you go to these things, if you actually take a weekend to really focus on freedom and power, you'd be amazed what can happen. I mean, we actually rank people's attractiveness or sexiness or how much they're owning their sexual freedom and power. And we had an average across the board of 25% increase in just a weekend. Think about that. Like, you too can become 25% more sexy in just one weekend. So it's really powerful stuff. And I think you'll be amazed with what can open up for you. So anyway, thank you so much. Go out there, enjoy the 4th of July. We certainly going to enjoy this weekend, and we wish you guys the best.
Happy Freedom Day!
Happy Freedom Day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.